Hello and welcome to the MCQ lecture series. In today's class, I'll be discussing some of the important multiple choice questions with respect to macroeconomics. So let's get started. The first question is in relation to GDP deflator, but before understanding GDP deflator, we have to make sure that we understand the concept of nominal GDP and real GDP. In my previous lecture, I have dealt with this concept of nominal GDP and real GDP, but again, I'll just recap it. Nominal GDP is valuating the production or the total production at current year's prices, okay, and in terms of real GDP, what is happening is I am valuing the current year's production at a base year price or a constant year price. So therefore, nominal GDP is also referred to as GDP at current prices, and on the contrary, real GDP is also referred to as GDP at constant prices. So this is the concept associated with nominal GDP and real GDP. That means nominal GDP is the valuation of all the goods and services at a price prevailing in the current year, and on the contrary, real GDP is the valuation of the current year's production at a base year price or constant year price. Okay, so this is how you can look at nominal and real GDP, and let us look at now what GDP deflator is. So the question is, GDP deflator is given by the ratio of what? The ratio of a nominal GDP to real GDP. Then we have ratio of real GDP to nominal GDP, real GDP by income, and none of the above. So here the formula is pretty much important, and the formula is the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP. It is also given as GDP at current year divided by GDP at constant year. So this can be the alternative formula which can be used to denote GDP deflator. So GDP deflator is nothing but the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP or GDP at current year prices divided by GDP at constant prices per se, okay, or base year prices as they say. This is also base year, okay, so you have to remember this. So GDP deflator is nothing but the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP. I hope this question is pretty much clear, and also the concepts of nominal GDP and real GDP. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about the difficulties in the measurement of national income. So let us look at the question. Which of the following denotes difficulties in the measurement of national income? Let us have a look at the underlying options. The first option is lack of adequate statistical data. Then we have unorganized industrial and agricultural production. Then we have prevalence of non-monetized transactions, and all of the above. So here all these three things, that is lack of statistical data, then we have unorganized industrial production, then we have prevalence of non-monetized transactions, and all of the above. So here the correct answer is all of the above. Okay, so here the measurement difficulties are in relation to prevalence of monetized transaction, then again unorganized industrial as well as agriculture sector, and lack of adequate statistical data available in the economy per se. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about two sector model, which is very important. Now in the two sector model, real flow consists of what? That is the question. Real flow consists of what? Now let us look at this model here which I have drawn, which is two sector model. It consists of household and firms. Households are sending their factors of production, that means labor, to the firm. The labor are sending factor payments, that means rent, wages, whatever sort of the factor of production which is being used. So the firms are sending the money here as factor payments. Then the households are buying goods and services from the firms in this direction, and then households are paying for the goods and services which they consume. Now here we have to look at the real flow and money flow which is happening in the two sector model. But before that, let us understand what is factor market and what is commodity market. In the upper half, I am looking at factor market. That means the factors of production are coming from household to the firms, and the firms are paying for the factors of production. Therefore, this market is called as the factor market. On the contrary, here there's commodity, and here what is happening is the firms are selling commodities to the household, and the households are paying for the commodities which they consume, and therefore you call this market to be the commodity market. So this is factor market and commodity market. Now in factor market, there is real flow and capital flow, or real flow and money flow per se. Real flow is happening when factors of production are moving towards the firms, and money flow is happening when factor payments are moving towards the household. Okay, so factors of production, this is talking about the real flow, and money is involved here, so it is money flow. Now real flow in the factor market is factors of production coming from household to the firm, and money flow is denoted by factor payments. On the contrary, similarly, when you look at the commodity market, payment for goods and services are counted as money flow, and the goods and services, the physical goods and services, are called as the real flow. So I hope the concept of factor market, commodity market, real and money flow in the factor market, real and money flow in the commodity market is pretty much clear with the help of this example. I hope the two sector model is pretty much clear. Let us now look at the questions associated with two sector model, and the question is, in two sector model, real flow consists of what? In two sector model, now let us look at the factor market. In factor market, what do we have as real flow? Factors of production. In the commodity market, what do we have as real flow? We have goods and services. So let us look at these two in the options which are given to us. The first option is factors of production and goods and services. Okay. Second is factor payments and payment for goods and services. Now factor payments are money flow, and payment for goods and services also money flow. So this is not the income, obsolete, none of the above. So here now we can say that option A, factors of production as well as goods and services, are the real flows in the two sector model. Real flow in the two sector model. I hope it is making sense to you. Pretty easy to understand. Real flow consists of factors of payments moving from household to the firm, and the goods and services moving from the firm to the household. So this is talking about real flow. I hope this question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about the money flow in the two sector model. Here specifically it says, in the two sector model, money flow consists of what? Now let us come back to our model. Here in the factor market, money flow is from the firms to the household in terms of factor payments, and in the commodity market it is from household to the firms in terms of payment for goods and services. So these are the two money flows. So let us look at the underlying option. The first option is factors of production and goods and services. Rather, these are the real flows. Then we have factor payments and payment for goods and services, which is in a sense talking about money flow. Yeah. Third is income, obsolete, and this again none of the above doesn't make sense. So here option B, that means when you look at money flow in the two sector model, you are looking at payment of factors of production moving from the firm to the households, and payment for goods and services which the households consume moving towards the firm, and therefore option B is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope both these questions associated with two sector model are pretty much clear. I hope the two sector model makes sense to you with the help of this diagram per se, and the movement of factors as well as commodity in both factor market and commodity market, and also the real flows and money flows in the respective markets per se. I hope this is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is three sector model, now associated with three sector model. Now the three sector model consists of A, households, B, firms or business, C, government, and none of the above. Sorry, here rather we should have all of the above as the answer. All of the above. Okay, so here let us look at it now. Household, firms, governments, and all of the above. When you look at three sector model, these are all part of three sector model, and therefore option D, all of the above, is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope the question is pretty much clear. But before looking at that, let me draw here for you. I'll just erase this and we'll look at the three sector model here. Okay. So now the three sector model, the first question says three sector model consists of household, firms and government. So here we are looking at government, here we are looking at firm, and here we are looking at households. Now the two sector model remains the same. That is why I'm not going to really talk about the flows which are happening from the two sector model to two sector model, but let me just point it out, otherwise you will get confused. So here factors of production are going, and for the factors of production, factor payments are being sent to the household. Okay, now in the lower, goods and services are sent to the household, and household is sending the payments for goods and services. Okay, so this is my regular two sector model. Now when I add the third sector, which is government, what is happening is both the household as well as the firm, both are going to pay taxes to the government. Okay, so both are paying taxes to the government, but also the government is sending certain remuneration, certain sort of say subsidies or transfer payments to the firms and households. So for the for the firms, they send subsidies, and for the household, the government is sending transfer payments. Okay, now these transfer payments are usually, for example, say pension. Okay, pension is one of the example of transfer payments. So I hope now the three sector model with the help of this diagram is pretty much clear. Let us now move to our questions. Now the three sector model consists of households, firms and government, and all of the above. These are the options, and all of the above is correct because it consists of government, household as well as firms. Let us move to the next question, which is in the three sector model, the government earns its revenue from dash. Now how the government is earning revenue, whether it is from transfer payments? No, transfer payments are going away from the government to the household. Subsidies are going away from the government to the firm. Taxes, yeah, taxes are coming towards the government. That means this is the source of revenue for government. Now these taxes can be both indirect and direct taxes. I am not specifically mentioning that. Therefore option C is the correct answer. In three sector model, government earns its revenue from taxes coming from both firms as well as households. I hope the concept is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question. In the three sector model, the government spends its revenue on. Now this is one way and this is the other way to earn revenue, but the government is also spending its revenue for certain purposes. What are these purposes? A, taxes, B, households, again vague, C, transfer payments and subsidies, and D, none of the above. So here we see that the government is spending whatever it is earning as taxes, it is spending subsidies on the firm, or it is giving out subsidies to the firm, and it is also giving out transfer payments in the form of pensions to the household. So therefore option C, transfer payments and subsidies, is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope you can relate to what I am talking when we see this happening in the model itself. Yeah, I hope this is clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is in a sense talking about in the three sector model, direct taxes are dash as they reduce the consumption, expenditure and savings. Direct taxes are either withdrawals, injections, troublesome, or none of the above. So here in the three sector model, direct taxes are withdrawals as they reduce consumption, expenditure and savings, because what is going to happen is, now whatever income I earn, whatever the income the household is going to earn, a part of it is going to go as savings to the financial sector. Okay, a part of it is going to go to the financial sector, but now since the government is imposing certain tax, now I'll have to reduce my savings or my consumption and pay taxes here. So what is happening is, it is acting as a withdrawal to the entire system, and therefore in the three sector model, direct taxes are withdrawals as they reduce the consumption, expenditure and savings. I hope the example is pretty much clear to understand. Let's now come to the last question in this session, which is again in relation to the three sector model. It says that in the three sector model, government expenditure acts as dash as it adds to the aggregate demand. Government expenditure and not revenue, please mind expenditure. Now expenditure is in terms of subsidies and transfer payments, they act as injections, because obviously the firms as well as households will have certain money in their hand, and therefore it will help in creating demand, or it will push the aggregate demand per se. It will push my consumption as well. So therefore it acts as injection. So option A is withdrawal, option B is injection, C is trouble, and D is none of the above. So here in three sector model, government expenditure acts as injections as it adds to aggregate demand per se. I hope both the models, that is the 2-sector model and the 3-sector model, here it is the 2-sector model, here is the 3-sector model, both are clear with respect to these diagrams and the questions associated with them. In the next class, I'll deal with the 4-sector model. So please stay tuned for more. Thank you.